First, though, can prayer really make a difference, regardless of faith? 30,000 Muslims will hope so this weekend as they gather to pray for peace in the Middle East and offer a voice to those who face persecution by the likes of ISIS. They will also no doubt be discussing the reaction to the news of the abuse scandal in Rotherham. Worshippers from 50 countries will be there alongside senior British politicians to mark the 125th anniversary in Hampshire of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community at the UK's oldest Muslim convention. Ahsan Ahmedi is a regional president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in the UK, and Adam Walker is an Ahmadiyya Muslim from Ilkley, and they both joined us this morning. Ahsan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Johnny. Thank you for inviting us.
No, it was an absolute pleasure, and Adam, morning to you too. Morning. If we can start with yourself, Ahsan, just explain the difference between the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and what people might think is a regular Muslim community.
Well, all Muslims currently believe that there's a coming of a second Messiah and a reformer. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community believe that in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the founder of the community, has fulfilled the prophecies of being the Messiah and the reformer. If I can give you a simile, that those Jews who believe that Jesus was the Messiah of the time are called Christians. So those people who believe that the second Messiah has come are called Ahmadi Muslims. Other than that, we believe in exactly the same things. Our Holy Quran is the same, we pray the same, and our teachings of the peaceful message of Islam is the same. Unfortunately, there are groups within Islam now, like you mentioned ISIS, who have distracted from those teachings and created their own format of Islam.
How frustrating is it for you as a Muslim, regardless of which part you belong to see somebody hijacking your faith in this way and using it to do awful, brutal things?
Well, first of all, the evil deeds that have been carried out by ISIS, the killing of James Foley, etc., are highly hurting our feelings, particularly because the Holy Quran clearly teaches us that even if you kill one innocent person, is as if you have killed the whole of a nation. And what ISIS are doing and what groups like these are doing are killing more than one person, and it is having a bad effect on Islam, and it makes our role following this Messiah, following this Khalifa that we have, the spiritual leader, the true Khalifa, a spiritual Khalifa rather than the Khalifa these people have created of land. Khilafat and Islamic states are nothing to do with land. It's about hearts and winning over people. So I think it's our duty to promote this, and I think we're doing this very well. The Prime Minister himself has mentioned that our Khalifa is a man of peace, and that's why he gets invited to the US Senate, the Europe Parliament and UK Parliaments, whereas ISIS is being ridiculed by everyone. So you can see the difference already. I think Jesus said you can judge a tree by the fruit it bears, and I think this is a prime example of that.
Why do you think that a group like ISIS would contort and distort and twist the Muslim faith to do what it does?
No faith is exempt from this sort of radicalization. We've seen Christianity with the Crusades, we've seen it in Hindu fundamentalism and in other faiths, even Buddhism in Burma, what is happening there by Buddhists against Muslims. So no religion or no group of people is exempt from radicalization. And people like Al-Qaeda and Hizb ut-Tahrir and Muhajirun are the bad effects of what's happened in the world. And we've been warning about these groups for many, many years, and they are a culmination of such groups. So I think it's our duty as Ahmadi Muslims. Our message is love for all, hatred for none. So we will continue to force this message of Islam, because that logo, that motto, is in essence what Islam means.
Adam, as a Muslim in Yorkshire, obviously you will have been, as everybody has been, affected by what you saw in Rotherham this week, and another sad connection to the Muslim faith, in part by the grooming of young girls. And how do you deal with the news of what has come out in Rotherham here locally?
I mean, it's a difficult thing to deal with on so many different levels. I mean, on one level, having worked in various youth roles nationally and regionally across Yorkshire and the rest of the country, with thousands of Pakistani Muslims, the sort of criminal individuals that we're talking of here are unrecognisable to me. And the acts that they're perpetrating are certainly unrecognisable to the teachings of Islam. But nevertheless, the report has clearly indicated that that there is a problem within a minority of individuals that herald from the Pakistani community, which is a great community in very many ways. So I think the way that we've sort of been treating it is, first of all, to simply reaffirm that we completely denounce what's happened. That for us, in terms of as Muslims, as British Muslims, what's of paramount importance is that young people should be provided with an atmosphere and an environment whereby they can flourish and be safe and be loved in all of the right ways that all children deserve. In terms of how to tackle the issues, I mean, within the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, thankfully this isn't something which we have been impacted in the sense of on either sides, but we do an incredible amount of work to help young people through youth engagement. We actually raise tens of thousands of pounds for charities that help young women, young girls, the children who are affected in this kind of way, like Barnardo's and UNICEF and Save the Children. So, I mean, really getting people out there and getting them to see the problem. And then also, I think socially, laws are fantastic in the sense that they're a deterrent and they're needed, but social movements are also needed. And it's a case of how people are educated. Our children, for example, within our community are very clearly educated from a young age that the rights of women must be respected, as with everybody's rights, and that if anyone comes across these sorts of crimes, then there's a zero tolerance policy. They must report it to the police. It's straightforward.
Do you worry about the impact of the perception of the Muslim community, whether it's the Ahmadiyya community or otherwise? Obviously, as you say, you've not been directly affected by this, but I think people would still probably clump together, maybe, you within the same faith, for obvious reasons. And do you worry about the impact as a whole on the Muslim faith of this and the demonisation, perhaps, of it?
I do worry about that, but I'll be honest with you, I'm deeply, deeply saddened by what's happened. And what I worry, the overriding feeling that I have is that a tension or a polarization of communities shouldn't lead to us not being able to tackle the core issues here. And there's a real issue across the whole of the UK in all communities. Statistically speaking, I think it's something like 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted in some sort of way across the span of their life. And it just deeply saddens me, and I hope that the tensions that arise, and there will be tensions, it's unavoidable to ignore that fact, but we can do a lot of community work and cohesion work to say, look, we're equally as against this as anyone else. In fact, more so, because it's Muslims that have been associated with this. But even more than that, we just need to get at the actual issue and stop this from happening. These are young girls' lives, and as I mentioned, it's deeply saddening.
I want to thank you both for joining us this morning. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Johnny.
Adam, thank you very much for you too. Cheers. That's Adam Walker there from Ilkley, part of the Ahmadiyya community, and also Ahsan Ahmedi there, regional president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community UK. John